So I think a year from now, we're going to have triple the users. We'll have Bitcoin at 300, 400,000 a coin. We'll have people are pulled into it. You know, it's like a black hole, if you will. All value, you know, everything goes to zero against Bitcoin in terms of purchasing power. So that means not only fiat money, but stocks, bonds, commercial real estate, fine art, gold. Gold gets demonetized. I mean, Trump did mention gold, you know, and silver. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a target that you're going for. Bitcoin, as I say, is the magic mirror that exposes you to yourself. If you are not really that great character, Bitcoin will make you worse. And if you're basically a good character, Bitcoin will make you a better person. And Andreas Antonopoulos was a guy who was already a very soulful guy who had other people's interests at heart, and he became a great educator and was a great guy for orange-pilled many people. Michael Saylor, similarly, Bitcoin took a very successful businessman and made him really an educator and a leader, and he's become a phenomenal success. You know, Bitcoin has boosted what was already there. If you're Craig Wright, you know, you're already cracked to begin with, and you're now going to prison. You know, if you're a Do Kwon, you know, you're already a crook from the moment you came out of your mother's womb. Now you're going to prison, right? So it reflects who you are, it accelerates who you are, and this is the thing about Bitcoin we all need to understand. You know, every single one of these that's ever been printed throughout history goes to zero. Now, Bitcoin only means that it's going to go there faster and permanently. There will never be, anybody will never attempt to do this again, create this paper Ponzi scheme ever again, once we go into the Bitcoin standard.
Max Keiser opens his discussion with a bold prediction. Within a year, Bitcoin will triple its user base and reach a staggering price of $304,000 per coin. He likens Bitcoin to a black hole that pulls all value into itself, rendering everything else fiat money, stocks, bonds, commercial real estate, fine art, and even gold practically worthless in terms of purchasing power. Keiser suggests that as Bitcoin's dominance grows, traditional stores of value, including gold, will be demonetized, losing their historical significance. Keiser's analogy of Bitcoin as a black hole is profound, emphasizing its gravitational pull on global wealth. As people increasingly recognize Bitcoin's value proposition, its adoption will accelerate, leading to a paradigm shift where all assets are re-evaluated in Bitcoin terms. This, Keiser argues, is not just a speculative trend, but an inevitable outcome driven by the fundamental properties of Bitcoin's scarcity, decentralization, and its role as a hedge against the systemic risks of fiat currencies. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
So I think a year from now, we're going to have triple the users. We'll have Bitcoin at 300, 400,000 a coin. We'll have people are pulled into it. You know, it's like a black hole, if you will. All value, you know, everything goes to zero against Bitcoin in terms of purchasing power. So that means not only fiat money, but stocks, bonds, commercial real estate, fine art, gold. Gold gets demonetized. I mean, Trump did mention gold, you know, and silver. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a target that you're going for. And the number go up component of Bitcoin is very compelling because people are inherently, you know, greedy might be too strong a word, but I think it's, like I've said before, Bitcoin is sent by God for humans to unfuck their money. You know, so the greed portion of our character as human beings is a little over tweaked. You know, it served a purpose, maybe more, it was more utilitarian in our previous hunter-gatherer existence,
Yeah.
But when you can print money and then buy institutions and buy media and things, okay, now you see what's happened to the culture and society. It's become extremely decadent, and it's collapsing in many ways. Bitcoin, as I say, is the magic mirror that exposes you to yourself. If you are not really that great character, Bitcoin will make you worse. And if you're basically a good character, Bitcoin will make you a better person. And Andreas Antonopoulos was a guy who was already a very soulful guy who had other people's interests at heart, and he became a great educator and was a great guy for orange-pilled many people. Michael Saylor, similarly, Bitcoin took a very successful businessman and made him really an educator and a leader, and he's become a phenomenal success. Bitcoin has boosted what was already there. If you're Craig Wright, you're already cracked to begin with, and you're now going to prison. If you're a Do Kwon, you're already a crook from the moment you came out of your mother's womb. Now you're going to prison, right? So it reflects who you are, it accelerates who you are, and this is the thing about Bitcoin we all need to understand, is that the day of reckoning is coming, and you need to be right with Satoshi. Otherwise, you're going to get crushed by Satoshi. Okay? Donald Trump was making a speech about America, and the contrast to RFK is that RFK said, we're going to put Bitcoin on our balance sheet. That's great, because that's what you need to do in World War Bitcoin. If you don't have Bitcoin, you're going to get beaten by Bitcoin. Just like when gunpowder came around, if you didn't have gunpowder, you were taken over by those forces that did have gunpowder. And this is what I think is underestimated by most people, is the importance of Bitcoin in this current environment where fiat money is going to be evaporated completely and go to nothing. Gold's being demonetized. Society is crumbling. The nation state model is crumbling. The central banks are crumbling. And Bitcoin is your ticket to sanity. So, and my conclusion is that it's because it was written in the future. And so Bitcoin is a ladder to the future. The block, the block height is essentially this ladder that's going into the Bitcoin singularity, into the future, and redefining time, energy, and so as a species we have that singularity, and that's where we're headed. This reunion with ourselves. We get to know who we are in the end. That's the end of the story. Is you are who you are. That's the end. So all the gurus and the mystics already tell you that. You say, you are who you are. That's the secret of life.
Authenticity.
Right? It's authenticity.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay? So that's why I'm Max Keiser, the ratings riser. And wherever I go, ratings go higher. I simply exude content 24/7. And, every single one of these that's ever been printed throughout history goes to zero. Now, Bitcoin only means that it's going to go there faster and permanently. There will never be, anybody will never attempt to do this again, create this paper Ponzi scheme ever again, once we go into the Bitcoin standard.
Keiser also touches on the geopolitical implications of Bitcoin, particularly in the context of us and El Salvador relations. He discusses the relationship between Donald Trump and El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele, noting that despite some recent tensions, the overall dynamic remains strong. Keiser attributes the tension to Trump's off-the-cuff remarks, which were factually incorrect and caused a stir. However, he believes that this is a temporary issue and that the relationship between the two leaders will remain positive, especially with figures like Donald Trump Jr. and Matt Gaetz actively engaging with El Salvador.
The relationship between Trump and El Salvador and President Trump is excellent, and it was during his first term, and I'm sure it'll be excellent during his second term. The past week, there was some tension in the air and a bit of controversy for a couple of different reasons. I think that when President was speaking, he went off the cuff and kind of went on a sidebar and spoke extemporaneously about the situation at the border. Just in the past few days, a Salvadoran national attacked somebody in the U.S., and so this, triggered that kind of sentiment in his mind. And he gets away with saying lots of stuff and not getting a lot of pushback. But in this case, I felt immediately that this would be an opportunity to actually push back a little. And then he doubled down and said something else, and people were like, hey, Max, you were right. This is not correct to be making these statements because they're materially wrong. They're factually incorrect. And he was suggesting that El Salvador is dumping violent criminals into the U.S. That's absolutely incorrect.
They're dumping their criminals into the United States of America, and we're not going to take it anymore.
The truth is that during the Clinton administration, they were dumping gang members from Los Angeles, MS-13, into El Salvador. And that became the gang problem in El Salvador. It was exported to El Salvador from the United States. And that story, I think, needs to be refreshed, that people understand that's the true story, and that the remarkable progress that's been made by President Bukele is even that much more remarkable. Number two, to give you more context, there was CPAC, and both President Bukele and Trump spoke at CPAC, and everyone was talking about President Bukele. He was the star of CPAC. And, Donald Trump, I think, feels a little jealous that the President Bukele is really the most popular leader in the free world. He's young, he's very smart, he's dynamic, he's done absolutely fantastic things in the country. So there's a bit of rivalry there. But I think, the new administration there won't be any problems. I know that Don Jr. has been to El Salvador and met with the president. You have Matt Gaetz has been there more than once. He's actually buying property there. There's now an El Salvador caucus in Washington, D.C., which will be very active. And so I think this whole past week will be forgotten. I kind of amplified it a bit just because I thought that it would cause a little drama, which why not?
Right.
That's kind of what I'm good at anyway, like stir the pot a little bit and without getting thrown out or arrested. That's always the challenge for me, is to stay out of jail. So I think that all went okay. The thing about talking about finance and banks is that there's no risk. I mean, you can say Jamie Dimon's a cunt, and Jamie Dimon won't care because they can always print more money, right? So, I mean, when you attack the banks and you attack the central banks, they do not care. But when I said on Al Jazeera that I declared a fatwa on Al Jazeera against Hank Paulson during the 2008 crisis, and said that his head should bounce down the Capitol stairs in Washington, D.C., right? I said I was trying to trigger Salman Rushdie on a U.S. official on Al Jazeera English. I mean, that was probably one of the dicier moments in my broadcasting career. And the response was from Al Jazeera. They invited me back the next week, and they said, we'll have you back to talk about stuff. Please don't issue any fatwas. That was their request. But when you're talking about the finance world, literally, they don't care. The times that I have veered into other areas in energy and defense or military spending. Okay, the most journalist murders are environmental journalists covering the energy industry. Every year, many get murdered, and if I don't cover that area for that reason, it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. Also, military contractors. I make jokes about them, etc. But I don't do an expose like on Rockwell or Boeing. Like I would never go out there and say, an insider told me Boeing, is selling faulty equipment or something like that, because they would fucking kill me. They kill people. Yeah. Right. That's so.
Yes.
Keiser reflects on the risks associated with his outspoken nature. He recounts past incidents where his provocative statements, particularly about financial elites and institutions, have stirred controversy. Despite this, he continues to push boundaries, using his platform to challenge the status quo and advocate for Bitcoin. Keiser's fearless approach underscores his commitment to the Bitcoin cause. Even in the face of potential backlash from powerful interests, Keiser's willingness to speak truth to power even at personal risk, is emblematic of his broader mission to expose the flaws of the current financial system and champion Bitcoin as the solution. His fearless commentary serves as a rallying cry for others to join the movement and embrace Bitcoin's transformative potential. Please like and subscribe my channel.